Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. My name's Tracy. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how I made my rainbow. This is a rainbow for the window to show our support for the NHS and our carers. So this particular rainbow I made using 2 rows of each colour, so it's quite a big one, and I'm going to show you how to make this, but I'm going to make it half the size. And so if you wanted to make it this size, you would just do 2 rows of each colour as I have here. Alternatively, you can do 1 row and just then repeat the colours, but I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to make a big one for my window, so I did 2 rows of each colour. But I'm going to do this small one for a smaller window, and plus it would be a shorter tutorial, which I'm sure you'll appreciate. So how do we do it? So many people have been putting on Facebook and other places that they can't get their rainbow to have a nice straight edge, and I've tried many ways of working the increases to keep this lovely straight edge, and doesn't seem to matter what I do, it constantly wants to travel this way, so it's not straight and it wants to make a circle. So the only way I figured as an alternative to it is to actually make a circle and then halve it and secure it, which does actually work quite well because it makes the colour more dense and vibrant, so that when you put it in the window it's more of a substantial kind of thing, you know, that you don't see the daylight through it quite so much, which is good. It makes the colour more vivid. Now I will say these colours are actually a lot more vivid than they look on camera, but it is once you film something, I find the colours don't always come out true to colour. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, and you may be informed when there are new videos. I say may because we're experiencing a little bit of hit and miss with that at the moment. So just to let you know, this is in fact a nice bright purple. Purple is very difficult to photograph. It does tend to blue out a little bit. The only thing I'm changing is the colour of this yellow. Now this one does look kind of washed out on here, but it is actually nice and bright. I just wasn't particularly, once I'd done it, wasn't particularly keen on this yellow, so I'm going to change that. So I'm going to get started with red. I just tried to go with the old song that did the colours of the rainbow, and I know there are several different ones, but this is the one that I chose. Anyway, so I'm going to get some red yarn. Now all of these yarns are DK weight. There are 3 weight in the UK, so in the US, sorry, so a DK and a 3 weight. Every single one of them, and most of them are just kind of scrap yarns where I've had left over from various projects. But you can use any yarn, just make sure that you use a corresponding crochet hook for it. Now because I wanted it to be kind of nice and drapey, I've used a 5mm crochet hook, and this is a Clover and More hook that I've been trialing recently. So you'll also need a darning needle and a pair of scissors. Darning needle, not so many ends to sew in, which is a brilliant thing for me and anyone else who hates sewing in ends. There are only a couple, so that's good. That's what I like to hear, and I'll explain why that is on the way. So I always start this projects like this with a magic loop, and you've probably seen my easy magic loop before now that those of you who've been with me for a little while. And I just make a loop, insert my hook and bring the yarn through, and then you've done it. That is the easiest way ever to make a magic loop. And if you want to make that a little smaller just to start with, that's great. So I'm going to chain 2 to get me to the right height for my stitch, and we're now going to work inside this loop that we've created, and we're going to work over this elongated knot. So I want to make in total 12 stitches into this ring, and these 2 chain count as my first. So I'm going to make a UK treble crochet, which in the US is a double crochet, and we do that by yarning over, putting our hook into the center, yarning over and bringing up a loop. So we have 3 on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. And I'll show you once more slowly, and then I'll just get on. So that's yarn over, into the center, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So that's a UK treble crochet or a US double, and I want a total of 12 stitches in this ring total. So I've now got 3 including my chain, so I'm going to pause the video and I'll pick up again with you once I get to the end. So I don't really want to count in front of you all, because that puts you off of your counting. So I'll just pause the video now and pick up with you again when I've got to my 12th. So if you want to see how that's done again, by all means just rewind the video. Now I've completed my 12th, and I've been working over that loose knot section, just as I said. I'm going to pull that close just a little bit. I don't really want that to work its way out. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to show you what we do next. So that's the tail in the center. We'll get that out of the way so it's not confusing. Now these are our first 2 chain that we started with, and we want to slip stitch into this top one. So we just pop the hook in, and I'm going to change color, and I'm going to go for the yellow now. So I'm just going to put that down for a second, and I'm going to cut off, and I'll leave a nice big tail. Just need to get rid of my red yarn out the way. Easier said than done. It was quite a way away. Just move that so it doesn't tangle. And I'm going to get my yellow, which is here. It's a shame you can't see the pretty yellow that this is, but it does look a little pale on camera. So I've popped my hook into my top chain, and I'm going to hold this behind like that. Just hold on to my tail and of my red and the tail of my yellow, and I'm going to pull a loop through with my new colour. Now I'm going to turn over, and I'm going to tie these 2 ends together. Now take care that you don't touch this one, which is the one from the centre. It is just the one that you've just cut off that you want, which is the one up here. So I'm going to just tie that off, and you don't need to worry about any of these ties or any of these tails, because they're not going to be visible. They're going to be on the inside of our, it's very difficult to see with the camera in the way what I'm doing. So they're going to be on the inside of our rainbow, so we don't need to worry about them at all. Now you've got your 2 tails that you've just created there, and this is the one that's in the center of our ring. So you just need to pull that, and it closes it nicely. Now it might work its way open again, but don't worry about that. You will secure that at the end. You can just sew it and secure it. So now we're here, and I want to start my increase round. So I'm going to pop my hook back into that stitch that we've just come out of, and I'm going to pull up a loop. So I've got 2 on my hook. Now this is how, when I've changed colour, I do my first one, because otherwise you sometimes get like a little bit of, see that there? You see that little bit there? It will kind of, your first stitch will have a line on it otherwise. So this is how I'm going to do my first 2 chain. So this is going to be classed as my first one, just that I'm going through 2 loops instead, and there's my second chain. So that's classed as my first stitch. So those would be my 2 chain. It's just that you can, as you can see. Now I'm going to do another stitch in that same place. And we're going to do 2 stitches in every single stitch around. So this one here is my second stitch. And it just looks a little different when you've made the join. So I'm going to do 2 in this one as well. And now I'm going to do 2 in every single one all the way around. Now if you wanted to, you could work over those tails. I did on my big one, and I don't know why, because, you know, as I said, you can just hide them on the inside. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to sew them in really. They're just going to be trapped there on the inside. So that's as simple as that, all the way around. 2 stitches in every single one of these, and at the end you should have a total of 24 stitches. So I'm going to pause the video and I will meet up with you when we get back to the start. I've made it all the way around, and that's my 24th stitch. Now of course, if you were doing 2 colours like I did with my large rainbow, then this would still be a red row and we'd be changing colour now. So but obviously I'm going to change colour every row at the moment. So I'm just going into the top of my chain to do my slip stitch, and I'm going to bring in my pink, which is my next colour. I'll just find the end. So I'm going to snip off my yellow and put that to one side with the red. And now I'm going to bring through my pink colour, just holding that as I did before at the back, so I can just carry on and slip stitch through. And now I'm going to tie these. Normally speaking, if I was making a nice flat circle, I would do tidier ends, but because this is going to be on the inside and you won't see them, I might have made that a little tight, because it's on the inside and you won't see them, there really isn't a problem. But if it was going to be just a circle for any other reason, then I would make much tidier ends. So we've now joined, and I'm going to go into that same stitch and bring up my pink and do my 2 chain. So that was my first one, and there's my second. Now we're going to start doing our increases. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit because otherwise you won't see it all. I'm going to start doing my increases now, and how to keep it. If you look at mine, you'll see it's got a nice curved edge. It doesn't look hexagonal, which sometimes these do, and the reason for that is the way the increases are worked out. If all of your increases are at the start, then you will start to get corners. So how we're going to, every single one on this round was an increase. So I'm going to do an increase on this one into the same stitch. And then on my next round, I won't increase on my first stitch. I'll increase on the next one. So the increases for this round, and not every stitch as before, but every other one. So in the next stitch we're going to do 1. And in the next stitch we're going to do an increase. And in the next one, just 1. So every single round that we're going to do now will increase by 12 stitches. So we do an increase, and then we do a single one. Can't see where I'm putting it. And that's what we're going to carry on all the way around. So your very last stitch, as you started with an increase, will be a single one. So carry on doing that all the way around. I'm going to pause the video and I'll catch up with you when we get to this point. Right, so I'm almost round. I've got to do my 1 on its own, And then I'm ready to join my next colour, which is the green. So I'm going to slip stitch as before into that top one, cut my yarn and discard my pink, and I'll get my green. Sorry about the clanking. And just as before, I'm going to hold on to that at the back and get my tail for this one, and then just bring through my new colour and give them a little knot at the back. Of course, if you want to join, if you're used to joining yarn, you want to join it any way you normally do, then that is fine. Oh, I didn't do one. That's fine. You don't have to do exactly the same as me. If you've got a preferred method of joining your colours, then, but I'm just, as I say, tying them off because there's no point in being too precise with this. So if it starts to curl up, then don't worry, it will flatten out. For some reason, even though you're increasing, sometimes it does do that. I think the difference in the thicknesses of yarns, even if you get all the same brand, you often get some colours that are just thinner than others. So again, I'm going to pop my yarn in and get my loop. I'm going to do 1 chain, 2 chain. Now in our first stitch of our previous round, we did an increase in our first stitch, so I'm not going to do that this time. And each round will increase by 12. So as we did 1 single stitch in between our increases in this round, we're going to do 2 in between these. So that's my first single one, and this is my second. And now I'm going to do an increase. So 2 in the same. And then I'm going to do 2 on their own. And now I'm going to do my increase. And we're going to do that all the way around. Simple as that. And as we have started with our 2 on their own, we will end with an increase. So I'm just going to carry on with 2 in between my increases now. Oopsie. So I'm going to pause the video now, carry on all the way round, and I'll catch up with you when I get back to the start. So I've almost made it around, and in my last stitch, because we didn't start with the increase, we now finish with 1. So we've got 2 in that last stitch, and just as before, we're going to slip stitch into our top chain and join our new colour. Just snip that off, and this time it will be purple, which doesn't look it, but it is a nice bright vibrant purple. I just don't need to mix it up with the green. Bear with me a second. That's it. So just as before, I'm going to hold on to that one while I grab this one and bring through my new colour and sort them out. Normally speaking, I would work over the tails and make myself less work, but they're just going to be buried on the inside, so it's even better. So that now you see how we are progressing. This first stitch now will be another increase, so I'm going to insert as I did before and make my 2 chain, and I'm going to do another in that same stitch. So I've done my increase. Now in between, it's curling up, but it doesn't matter, it will pull out. In between our increases now, we're going to have 3. So we had every stitch an increase, 1 in between, then we had 2 in between, and now we've got 3 in between. And don't forget, this is a stitch here next to our, it does look odd, that one, but it is a stitch. So I'm going to do 3 on their own, and now I'm going to do an increase. So each round, as I said before, increases by 12. So now I'm going to do my 3. If I can get it in, it is. And now my increase. And that's going to do that all the way around. 3 on their own, and then an increase all the way back to the start. And as we started with an increase, we'll be finishing on just single stitches. So I'm going to pause the video now, and I'll pick up with you again once I get back to the start. I've made it all the way round, but I thought it would be good to pause here and just show you how it's going and perfectly round, I mean, rather than hexagonal where you've got corners. And that is purely because of the way we're doing our increases. So my last 3 stitches were the ones on their own, as I said they would be. And I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my chain, which is very difficult to see with this yarn colour. My light's not very good here. Don't want to get the wrong stitch. I think it's that one there. And I'm going to bring in my new colour. So I'm just going to snip that one off. And now it's this bright orange. If I can find the end. There it is. So just pull some yarn out. And now I'm going to start with an increase again. Just bear with me a second. Just want to make sure by looking close up that I was in the right spot. And I was. That's cool. So I'm going to hold on to that one. Bring in my new colour. And just bring through my new colour and secure those off. And before I do sew this, I might shorten some of these because I'm used to leaving a nice long tail to sew them in, but obviously we're not. Okay, unless you wanted to. I don't really know anyone who wants to sew in ends all the time. I certainly hate it. So now we're going to start again with our new colour, and as we started with an increase, we're not this time. So we are now going to do 4 in between our increases, and it will start to curl forward, but that's fine. It will work itself out. There's no worry about that. So we're going to do 4 between our increases. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll do 2 in the next one. And then 4. You see a pattern emerging, but every round you increase 1 in between your increases, and that's how we carry on increasing. Okay, so I am going to finish this 4, and then I'll pause the video. Otherwise it'll be quite boring for you to watch me going all the way to the end. Okay, so I'm going to pause it now then, and I'll catch up with you when we get back to the start. I'm back at the start again, and so I'm going to slip stitch into my first. Obviously I finished on an increase on that round because I started with not on an increase. So this is my last colour, and I'm just going to join that same way as I have been doing. Now I know many people will say, oh, I couldn't risk all those ends poking their way through my work, and would want to sew them all in. Well, that's fine if you want to, but I think as this is a window decoration, it's not going to be moved about very much. Like if it was a garment or a blanket, then ends can work their way out. But this is just going to sit in a window, so I don't believe it will. And it should be quite easy just to poke them back through again. It's amazing when you do something as simple as tying a knot with a camera in the middle of you. It's not always easy. So now I'm on my last colour now. I'm on the blue. And obviously if you've gone 2 rounds, yours is twice the size of mine now. So I'm going to start with an increase because I finished with one. So I've got my 2 in there, and you've probably guessed it, in between our stitches now we're going to have 5 single ones on their own. I love this blue, it's nice and bright. And then an increase, and then 5 on their own. And we're just going to continue to do that all the way around. I think that was 5. Just check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now my increase. It's nice and simple. So I'm going to carry on now, pause the video, and I'll carry on doing my 5s with my increases, and I will end with a 5 because we started with an increase, and I will pick up with you when I get back to the start. Okay, so I'm all the way back and I've done my final 5, and I'm just going now to slip stitch into that top chain, and I'm not going to change colour this time obviously. So there we are, we've got our big circle, and this is going to, as I say, going to be a really small one. So with my large one, what I'm going to do, I've been making some hearts. That one is the only odd coloured one. And I've been making some medium size ones. This one has to have its chain done. And I've been making some small ones, and I'm just going to attach them and have them dangling. I'm also going to make some butterflies along here, but I've seen some of these, various people's rainbows, where they've got like a row of clouds under here, which looks kind of cute. But you can just do anything. And I was just going to have some hearts, maybe some pom-poms, like little tiny pom-poms, not huge ones. Hearts and pom-poms hanging off, and some butterflies attached where the things come down. So once you've done, we haven't done yet obviously, but once you've done, all that remains is to attach and make a chain for your hanger. But how we're going to join it is, I'm going to not end off, I did with the first one, because I wanted to make sure that all of this, because you can see where you've got your join, but I wanted to make sure that that was on the back. But if we use it as a starting point, then it will be along the edge in any case. So I've got my hook, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this one is in the corner, and I'm going to do a simple double crochet in the UK, which is a single crochet in the US, all the way around, and I'm going to go through both sets of stitches. So I've got the 2 loops from that one and the 2 loops of the corresponding one the other side, and I'm just going to bring up my yarn and do a double crochet, and I'm going to do that in every single stitch around. But actually I don't think I've got in the corner that one. Let me try again. I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I don't like it not to be. There we go. I'll start here. I think it was the right one. Just looked like it wasn't. So there we are. That's fine. I'm going to carry on all the way around through 2 loops of both sides. So I have them on my hook like this, and I'm going to pull my yarn through and just do a double UK or a single US in every single stitch. That's cinching them together and giving us a little edge in to our work as well. So we've got a nice edge to attach our chain to. but just make sure that you don't miss any stitches. It's easy when you hold it properly, but I'm kind of holding it in a awkward way because it's a tutorial. So I'm going to just do that all the way along and until I get to the other side. So in every single one, through 2 loops of each, as simple as that. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to go all the way around, and I'll pick up with you again when I get to this side. So I've almost made it all the way back. Pull out a bit more yarn. And carry on right to the end, making sure I'm going through both loops, nearly there. Make sure you go in the end one, otherwise it will look uneven. And I cinch that down so it's not quite so bold. And I'll leave a nice long tail because that one we do need to sew in. And I just usually do a chain, cinch it right down and then pull it through. So then I will bury that. So there we are, we've got a nice little small one. And you could even, if you wanted to, do kind of a display with maybe one there and another one there, so that you kind of have, I don't know if I can show you that. You could have one each side. You could do all sorts of things. And as I said, you can attach to here and here, maybe do a chain to attach it to the window. If you didn't want it visible, you could use cotton, like a cotton thread rather than cotton yarn, you know, a needle and cotton type cotton, and secure it that way so you wouldn't see the hanger. And if you wanted to, you could just get one of those suction cups that go on the window. But I think that looks really cute, and no matter what I tried, I couldn't get it to have a nice straight edge unless I did it like a burrito. So that's it. Thanks for watching. So yeah, all you got to do now is decorate it to your heart's content and make your hanger or attach it to your window in any way that you want. But thanks for watching, and just watch out for other videos. I've got a video for this medium-sized heart, and I've got a video for this small one, and I'm going to do some butterflies and other things. I've just not really worked out all of the decorations that I'm going to do. So thank you for watching. Until next time, bye for now.